Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. So we are back again today, and we got some things to talk about because there is something called the Charlie Kirk effect going around, and because there's the Charlie Kirk effect, a lot of people think that Republicans could pull off this year's elections. Now, however, I am, of course, skeptical, and there's always room for skepticism, because in order for something to be called an effect, the Charlie Kirk effect, or the Kirk effect, in other words, we're not going to find out until election day. Now, even October, when October comes around, you have the October surprise. That's when you start to get a feel of what it's going to be like. You can start to call it a Charlie Kirk effect or something like that. He'll probably play a role in the October surprise, but we will not find out until the election day, until those results are released. Because obviously, when we that's just why I'm very against people going and saying, no, this is the Charlie Kirk effect, because a lot of this could be manufactured. We have also a lot of this could be an echo chamber. A lot of this could be just momentum, or just overall hype. Other words, it's also, we are getting closer to election day, and summer response bias has ended after all. So expectationally, things are going to get pretty tight. Now, will Charlie Kirk's assassination make it more tighter, more quickly? This is what we're probably seeing in Virginia, as Republicans are trouncing in the first day of early voting. So if you're from Virginia, I encourage you to early vote. Vote Republican up and down the ballot. I know a lot of people don't like Winsome Shears. I don't care. I really don't care, guys. Vote for whoever you want, but I would tell you I would vote for Winsome Shears out of the anger to send Democrats a strict message. If you go around and shoot your opponents, expect a red wave. You go shoot one conservative podcaster, expect a red wave. So I understand the frustrations of Winsome Shears being too establishment. I get that. I understand that. But I would vote for her because I'm not rewarding Democrats anything. In fact, I would vote for a rhino, actually. I don't care. Democrats killed a conservative for his free speech. We're not rewarding Democrats by not showing up and voting. So I would determine, if you're from Virginia or New Jersey at all, and Pennsylvania, get out and tell people to early vote. Get out and plan to vote. Schedule in advance. We still have time to schedule, Schedule and plan out what you will do on election day. And better yet, vote early. No, there's no rule of saying that you can't vote early if you have to vote on election day. That's pretty much out of the window. We're now doing early voting. So, looking here, you'll clearly see that the post that Michael Prusler posted, it said that ordered by their first day 2024 of the vote, Dinwiddie County has a chance to exceed last year's day number 1. That is a very good possibility, but it could be possibly a ripple, so we cannot take this as something and run with it. It could be taken only as a grain of salt, and this does not mean at all Republicans will win. Now, what it could mean is Republicans would overperform the polls, which would be huge in other directions. And even if they overperform the polls, that would be a Charlie Kirk effect. Even though, realistically, I do think that, it would have been close regardless. But this, because the race is actually heating up. But of course, you do have things tightening up here. The average is at 8.7. And the question is, if Republicans are turning out in early voting, what would it look like? Now, it's important to remember, not too long ago when we first started this channel, we were very mad and angry for some silly reason, and so shell-shocked that Virginia voted blue. I mean, Republicans did very well voting in the Virginia Senate elections. They were turning out. You got Glenn Youngkin knocking on doors and telling people to vote. Yeah, you saw that. It was relatively very close, 48 48.4% to 49.8%. You saw a net change of 2 seats going up for Republicans and one, but it was not enough. There was very little energy, and that was part of the manufacturement we were seeing. This idea that, of course, that people were mad at Joe Biden, people were mad at his low approval rating, and people were going to massively turn on Republicans. It didn't suit well. So we got to be careful, especially when it comes to Virginia, because it can be very, very, very misleading. And I would say, judging at the turnout and the momentum, I would imagine that Spanberger wins by 4, but it's not going to be it's as of right now, Earl Shears doesn't look like she's winning. We got to also remember that Spanberger's the candidate of change, okay? She's the candidate of change in a blue state. Republicans run a blue state right now. And you got a Republican in the White House, very unpopular in Virginia. Virginia voted against him 3 times over 5 percentage points. They're a blue state, okay? They are a blue state, and they're generally, going to throw it. You got the very popular Republican, it's not running anymore. You got Winsome Earl Shears running, not as popular as Youngkin. She's not viewed as the candidate of change. She's a different candidate, but she represents the party and the administration that Republicans ran in Virginia for 4 years. So, Democrats are viewed favorably when it comes to change in Virginia, in the governor's mansion and in the White House. And of course, White House is not in contention, but you do have, of course, the state of Virginia, which is in contention. You got Republicans running these 3 offices that are up and for grabs, those down ballot races, the lieutenant governor and the attorney general's races, which could be up for grabs, but those races will be determined if Spanberger runs a competitive campaign whatsoever. And I mean, let's be honest, Virginia is very like North Carolina, where they are flexible of voting for the opposition party in their lower elections. We've seen that in 2021. We've seen Glenn Youngkin pull off a pretty convincing win. He mainly won because he was the candidate of change. Joe Biden, relatively, he was more neutral in the state of Virginia when it came to approval rating. But Glenn Youngkin won based to like COVID-19 policies. And I would believe that the trans thing and the public schools, the critical race theory kind of helped him get over the edge. But yeah, you also have Terry McAuliffe, who wasn't really, he was governor, and they already knew his take. But he lost because he wasn't viewed as the candidate of change. Turnout, after all, trounced to 7.7%. So Republicans came out and voted. 2017, Ralph Northam was the candidate of change when it came to the White House. And obviously, you could say that it was Donald Trump that helped Northam win in other circumstances. 2013, really, that's when the pattern stops. You'll see Terry McAuliffe was not the candidate of change. Ken Cucciolini was the candidate of change, and he still lost. So it's not guaranteed all the time. But to be fair, Robert Service was literally taking away votes from Cucciolini. So if Service didn't run, probably Ken Cucciolini would have won. I don't know what the polls said in this. Yeah, it was pretty close, like McAuliffe 6.7. And generally, frustratingly enough, Robert Service just literally blew it. So Virginia's not relatively our race to win, mainly because of the environment of the race. Now, New Jersey is more competitive and that's a state where the Charlie Kirk effect is mainly going to have an effect, because you have the college students in Turning Point USA, and Turning Point USA has held events in New Jersey like everywhere else, but also you have seen in most recent, not just polls in general. Well, technically polls, because Mikey Sherrill has not even breached 50% in polls. Maybe she breached past 1, we'll actually go ahead and see. Yeah, she's like relatively 49%. Okay, you have one poll that she breached over 51%. This is, of course, Quinnipiac, which does not have a good polling reputation. But relatively, we are still predicting that Mikey Sherrill will win. Then again, there's nothing that the left will getting a hurrah from this, because these are blue states. Let's not play around with being all dopey. No, these are blue states. Kamala Harris won by over 6 points. If you lose them, that's a problem. Democrats should be freaking out, but Republicans can ease, because these aren't our states to win. We're just trying to do the best performance, and if we win one, amazing. We won the year. But this is a relatively Mikey Sherrill in majority of these polls has not even breached 50%. Yeah, sure, you have a couple polls, like 56% from Reuters from June, and you have, of course, the Signal poll. But let's remember, this is an 8-point win. Obviously, this is not the same polling results that we've seen in 2021, where we've seen Phil Murphy blow Shirelli out. And relatively, New Jersey is a difficult state to poll. A lot of people don't recognize New Jersey as a more tipping state for Republicans yet. So you could have something like that. Obviously, you do have polls that suggest that Shirelli is that Murphy is breaching 50% in way more polls. It did get closer, and relatively, if it gets closer, we will get as time goes on. We will have a determination on where this race is going to continue. But this is what it's looking like right now. And you also have stupid comments, because obviously Mikey Sherrill is not helping herself. This woman is not campaigning at all. She's in California right now. Not in California, probably home in New Jersey. But a week ago, she was in California. Like, what are you doing in California? Like, this woman's not campaigning. She's being an Elf Landon in New Jersey. She's assuming that she's going to win. This is a blue state, and she probably will, but probably out of luck. Because we've seen through history, people in this complacency like she's doing right now, that doesn't really necessarily work. And she just made it very worse for herself, because Mikey Sherrill is being ripped for suggesting that Charlie Kirk is a Christian nationalist who sought to roll back the rights of women and black people after, of course, the House honored him. Now, this is bad because you could just only assume that Mikey Sherrill was one of the 50 that voted against honoring Charlie Kirk in today's session in the House of Representatives. Even half the majority of Democrats even decided that it's probably smart to honor this guy, because they're seeing the outrage, they're seeing the direction of where the general media and the general public is going, and it's going to Kirk's favor. This lady, who is very dumb, by the way, who assumes she's going to get elected the next governor, she probably will. I don't know. She's saying that she is not going to honor Charlie Kirk. In fact, she's going to make it very clear to the people that are mourning of this man. She's going to make it very clear that he's a white nationalist, the same rhetoric that prompted the shooter, Tyler Robinson, to kill Charlie Kirk. She's just repeating the echoing cries of Tyler Robinson, and she's probably agreeing with Tyler Robinson and saying, yeah, I agree with Tyler Robinson, he's a white nationalist, blah, 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 and like that doesn't even mean anything. If Charlie Kirk's a white nationalist, then you're a Bolshevik. So what? You're a Bolshevik socialist that's supporting a Mao Zedong. And all these people, Pol Pot, and all these communists that buried people alive during the communist regimes. That seems like very hyperbole, right? That seems over-dramatized, right? I agree. Just making a point. Of course, Mikey Sherrill will try her best to defend herself from that sort of criticism, but Mikey Sherrill wanted to play that game. So it's up to Shirelli to kind of really take this and make this an issue. Why I'm so happy and confident about New Jersey is because Cheryl's not the candidate of change. Let's make ourselves clear. Cheryl is not running anything. And nothing but anti-Trump and Trump this, Trump that, Trump that. She's not running anything but that. And Shirelli is running on actual platforms. He's actually knocking on doors and campaigning. He's saying we are actually going to go and make New Jersey more affordable, lower the crime, lower costs, lower energy prices. This is generally very popular, praising the SALT tax, lowering the SALT tax, abolishing the SALT tax, I want to believe, from the big, beautiful bill. He's campaigning on that. And not to mention, he has campaign endorsements from Democrats. Now, one was eliminated because one Democrat became a Republican. This was a former mayor of a city in Bergen County or Essex County, I'm not sure. But they ended up switching sides, and I would imagine that candidate was more conservative. But it just comes to show that, yeah, there are some sane Democrats out there, and I'm happy to see this. And it's true, yes, Cheryl has the majority of endorsement. Let's remember, though, supermajority in the legislature and everywhere else. This is what will soon to be more of a compatible state, but you're seeing that a lot of people, like here, you got the Republican, we got these sort of deals here. Yes, you got, I think it was Frank Chiarelli. He was a Democrat prior to the endorsement, and that's probably the one that flipped. But Tana Raymold, she is the deputy mayor of Garfield, New Jersey. She's a Democrat. Everett E. Garnta Jr., mayor of Garfield. He switched political parties. This individual switched political parties. You got Jamel Hawley, a Democrat who's a former state assembly member from the 20th district. He's a Democrat, and he's backing Chiarelli. So when you have these Democrats coming out and they're suddenly endorsing Chiarelli, it shows that, the tide for Democrat support are shifting rightward for the gubernatorial candidate, the Republican in this instance. So this really begs the question, is Chiarelli gaining more Democrat votes than 4 years ago? And I mentioned New Jersey in this video, and I plan to do another New Jersey video in the future. But I mentioned New Jersey because this is really the race we should be focusing on, not Virginia. This is where we're going to see the Charlie Kirk effect the most. And now there was an effect to begin with. We have an unpopular governor, Phil Murphy, who brags about housing an illegal immigrant on his roof. This sort of guy, he's more unpopular in the state than Donald Trump. He's not on the ballot this year, but his of course, his legacy and the damage he has done to the state will be determined in this said election and the reputation for Democrats as a whole. So obviously you have Republican registrations coming in New Jersey. So it's really going to determine if Charlie Kirk's legacy is going to, if this is going to be a Charlie Kirk effect, it's going to be felt in New Jersey. It's going to be felt in the Garden State. Virginia, the goal probably is to probably not get down below 10% for Winsome Shears, or try to relatively stay in margin of the polls, because the polls does show our expectations. Now, if we underperform the polls, then that's not a Charlie Kirk effect. Sorry, that's not a Charlie Kirk effect. Not at all. Now, if we overperform the polls so much that we get to like a 4% margin gap, then sure, yeah, absolutely, this is probably a Charlie Kirk effect. But then again, the climate is not necessarily in favorites for these said Republicans in this case, because we're not the candidates of change. We're not the candidates of better opportunities. So, and really, Abigail Spanberger running in the blue state with the Republican being the president of the United States. Of course, you got the mass firings in Virginia when it comes to the federal workers. The climate is favored for her. And that's why I really encourage people not to get hopeful over this. But relatively, the race is going to get closer and closer and closer. But ultimately, we will see how this will play out. So anyway, what do you guys think in regards to this video? Oh, and that's the other thing. We need to do a prediction. Glad I caught that. Let's do a prediction for Virginia. Otherwise, this is going to be like a Virginia and New Jersey video because we did cover a lot of New Jersey too. But let's talk about the county results. So if it's true that college students in Turning Point USA are making it a deal to show up and vote in honor of Charlie Kirk, the expectation could be that Winsome Shears will probably pick up the counties, same amount of counties that President Trump carried last year in the state of Virginia. What would that be? Probably Montgomery County. We'll kind of play it by ear. Earl Shears. All right, so let's go ahead and cover the obvious ones, starting with Northern Virginia. Obviously, that's going to be more Democratic, no doubt about it. How Democratic, that will obviously be determining the race as a whole, but you also have this county right here. Not necessarily know what that county's called. I really need to pull up the counties of Virginia. Okay, I think we have a clickable map. Stafford County. Okay, that's Stafford County. And we can actually go ahead and see. Yeah, we're starting from the bottom. Yeah, it's got more liberal. It's getting more tight. And in gubernatorial elections, I've noticed it's actually become more relatively Republican. The question is, does Spanberger reside from that county? That is a question that we should be asking ourselves. So let's go ahead and pull up the 2024 United States House of Representatives. I am aware that Spanberger did not run in 24 because she was going to run for governor before that. But we're talking about Spanberger's seat. Abigail Spanberger. Yeah, here's her seat right here. So yeah, you got this area right here. It's a part of her district. So the question is, will Stafford County vote for Abigail Spanberger because it's a part of her district? Well, let's see. Well, this area, Spanberger lost Stafford County. It's possible she could pull it off somehow, but it will probably show which city she resides in. If she probably doesn't reside in Stafford County, in my expectation. She resides in a census-designated area called Glen Allen, and that is right up here, like, you wouldn't think it would be anywhere near, but Glen Allen is in Hanover County. And looking at the map result, I don't think she lives in her own district, which is horrible. Like, ridiculous. Like, she doesn't even live in her own district. And you don't have to live in your own district by law. You don't have to. But it just makes you look bad. Uninformed, untouched, and you're not in touch with your own constituents. And I'm aware that Stafford voted 55% for Shears, so I do think she could possibly pick it up. I don't know. Trump barely lost it. But hey, I mean, if they're going to think of her as not in touch with her own constituents because she doesn't even reside. She's just so cowardice to not reside in her own district. Then okay, I would probably keep it red, or I don't know. I'm more of indecisive, but it has voted against Spanberger, tight margin. But I do think that these constituents will vote. Now, this area, that is, let's see here, Sussex County. That's an African-American community, and that's shifting very to the right. 51-47, it could vote for Shears. It did not vote for Shears. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I have not seen this county vote red in an election, a public election yet. Not large race, so we'll kind of keep it blue. Surrey County, keep red. We'll go ahead and cover. Now it's true, James City right here did vote for Shears, but if Spanberger is going to win as it's saying it is, Spanberger would probably win this. This area was somewhat of a decisive, but I do think that Spanberger could possibly carry it. Northampton County, pretty Democratic in the presidential year, but I saw it more Republican. I'll kind of keep it Democrat for now. All right. We'll keep Montgomery red. There's these blue areas here. Albemarle, very liberal college community, but then you got these communities. In fact, let's go ahead and pull up not Jackson Jude, but Dave Leaps, so we can actually get a full understanding. And we should pull up a different demographic. Okay, they have already the Virginia governor's map up already. But we can actually pull up the lieutenant governor result for Linsom Shears. This is how she performed. See, you got 55 in Stafford County. Chesterfield, 54%. But this is, once again, below the average race. That means that, then again, it does not mean that this is below the bigger office, the governor's mansion. Now you're running for a big race, governor's mansion. And I understand that Chesterfield did vote around the same margin for Youngkin. Youngkin's a strong guy, and really, it was because of Youngkin where Winsome Shears actually crossed the finish line. Chesapeake is too indecisive. You got Virginia Beach. Surrey County, I think it shifted to the right ever since 2021. Prince Edward, we said that would stay red, but all right. Here's Liberal County. Yeah, Montgomery County's right here. Pardon me. This is St. Edward. And, I mean, it did vote for Kamala. It could, I mean, in ways, it could pull off. I'm going to keep it liberal as of right now. I just don't know. Go ahead and call these areas liberal, Democrat. And I think we got it all, actually. This is our result. So 42 counties for Spanberger. Earl Shears, 91. Spanberger would win by 4. That's kind of my expectation, but we'll see how that actually plays out in the actual election when that actually happens. What do you guys think in regards to this video? Let me know down below. And as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.